What's up, guys? Welcome to Double Crown Talk Time, the weekly show that we talk about video games or video game related news. My name's Matt, and I'm bringing you here today with our good friend Christian.
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm good. Well, I'm good now.
Fantastic. Today we're gonna skip all the usual pleasantries because we got bones to pick with each other. As you can tell, we are going to be talking about The Last Guardian, and we had two vastly different experiences about that.
We did.
But we're gonna talk about that. If you like what you see, you can find us on youtube.com/DoubleCrownGames. You can find us on Twitter as well. I'm at _Matthew Creek. You are
At ChristianOff645.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Now we're doing it.
I'm not making a thing for that.
That you didn't make a thing for it last time.
I know.
Just put up a really shitty one from Paint.
Okay.
Yes.
That'll be good. If you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe. We'll do that whole rigmarole at the end again as well. So, Last Guardian.
Before you want to read your notes?
I just wrote TLG sucks and Christian is poo, and then I drew a butt farting and a penguin. Those are my notes.
So that's how this argument's gonna go.
No, I was just getting the juvenile humor out of the way to begin with. So let's start with your overall impression of the game.
Sure. So I think that this is the best Team Ico game they've ever made.
Okay.
I think it's better than Shadow of the Colossus. I think it's better than Ico. But I think that before the end, so before the last 3 chapters, right when the flight starts, we're going into spoilers. Should we?
Yeah. Spoilers are going to be happening. If you haven't played the game yet, pause this video and play it because you will beat it in a relatively short amount of time.
Probably
It's about 10 to 12 hours.
Yeah. So right when the first signs of flight starts to happen and like you guys are going to flight, that is when I started thinking that it was probably going to, that's when I started having the feelings that it was going to rate higher than the other games beforehand. I thought that Trico, I have never been that emotionally attached to something in a video game in a long time as a character.
That's totally fair.
Like, especially at the end where all those other Tricos are like biting his ankle and ripping his tail off. I was like screaming at my TV, like, please stop. Alexa's in the kitchen. She looks over. She sees it through the hallway, and she's like screaming, "What is going on the TV right now? This awful thing that's happening to this thing that you care about." But moreover on that, so on the first 2 games, on Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, they both end in such a way where Ueda like toys with the idea of hurting your feelings on something, and then is like, I'm just kidding. It's okay. Like Yorda and Ico, like, you thought Yorda was gone. It's okay. She's still here. You guys are eating a watermelon on a beach. It's fine. And then in Shadow of the Colossus, like your horse throws you off and it falls. What is obviously the length of like an entire Empire State Building, and only breaks its ankle. And at the like by the end of the game, he comes limping out with your girlfriend, and you're this little baby thing. And everyone's like, see, it's okay. You survived somewhat. Your girlfriend's alive.
Into glue.
Right, exactly. And your horse is okay. And they made a cast out of something, but don't ask. It's okay. But like in this one, like the ending goes so dark, so quick, like to the point where they're like, yeah, so those barrels that you've been feeding Trico all the time are gooed up children like yourself that didn't have the luck to have lightning strike down them and then break these shackles that this god being built all of these creatures and this entire thing out of. And on top of that, your Trico's dead. And the only thing I'm not clear on is whether you had, I'm assuming you had, in the game, the one that's on the cover is the boy Trico, and then the one that jumps around and follows him and then roars at him as he's flying away is the girl that he got pregnant at some point.
I think that's the general consensus.
Yes. And so like it's cool because like, you know, the kid raises up the shield and then like the mom and the little baby's eyes like light up in the cavern where you first met your Trico. And that's all fine, but like to be fair, you don't even know if they like you. They probably hate you because you were the reason their dad died. But on top of that, like he saves you, sorta, like flies away, still slamming into shit, and you're like, please just stop, just lay down, like this is too much.
Just take a little breather,
And then
buddy.
he just slams into the ground. All these people start stabbing him with these spears, and they're like, and it's so sad. Like I have never, I can't remember the last time I was that emotional with a video game.
Oh,
Period.
I think a lot of it has to do with like Trico is the best design element in the game, in my opinion.
But I think he's the only design element in the game. Like I think the main character is just like the other main characters of Team Ico games, where they're just supposed to be a vessel for you. Like they're not. There's nothing special about the Wanderer or the kid in Ico or in this game, because there's nothing to riff off of. There's no thing, like you're just supposed to impose because you're choosing all of his decisions anyway. Like you're like, we're going up here now, I control you, that's what we're doing. But like Trico is the thing, or Trico, whatever. That's the thing that you're supposed to be building a bond with as that kid. Because at the same rate that kid is building but now this was different for you and I, but for the same rate the kid is building a bond with Trico is the same way that you are. Because just at the moment when I was supposed to be frustrated, where I was like, I wish I could tell him to do these things, the game was like, no, you guys have been together long enough that you can do these things. That never happened for you, and I don't know why, and I can't answer that question. But
I actually found out why, but we'll get to that. The thing, like, if you're an animal lover, this game is going to hit you right in the feels. Like, Trico is a very realistic depiction of like generally just like a dog, like a puppy. Granted, it's like a cat puppy with wings.
Yeah,
but it's awesome. Like the noises that he makes whenever he is frustrated or scared or hungry is just like, aw. Come on, buddy.
Yeah, or like you're running away from, like if
anything
you're like walking too far and then he starts whining and you're like, I'll be right back. Like
I did find myself talking to the game,
which is ridiculous.
Yeah, the same voice that you would talk to like your own pet.
Absolutely.
Which like I will give the game that is very good in that regard. Like the emotional bond between myself and Trico, awesome. That little boy can eat shit and die forever.
But I think that the little boy's supposed to be you.
Nah, I'm a fucking asshole. Trico should have let me ride. He should have just gone wherever.
He would have just died, man.
He would still have those spears in him.
And you saw that chain, he wouldn't be able to eat the little mushed up boys in the barrel. So fucked up.
Yeah.
Like that was almost Metal Gear levels of like bait and switch type shit.
I thought it was just like juiced butterflies, because those butterflies are all
well, yeah, so there's butterflies always flying around when you're at the barrels, but that's just them being like, hey, look, there's a barrel over here. But like you get there and like he throws up a kid into this machine. It's like, you know, the machine that you always see where like the dog puts a tennis ball in it and then it goes and then spits out the tennis ball and the dog goes. That's literally what happened, except he spit a kid into it and then it crunched it up into a gooey barrel.
Well, the weird part about that is they put like 9 kids in there and only 1 barrel shot out, if I remember.
No, so we only saw the one kid go in, but then when that Trico was catching his barrel, other ones were putting more in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's kid per barrel.
1 kid per barrel, please.
Yeah.
So you generally like the game.
I like it a lot. Like and if not only because I'm excited to see it. I didn't think I was going to care what he did after this. Especially if this game would have ended like all of his other games. But I'm genuinely interested now to see what he does on his own, because that's just not a story that he's ever told before.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fair. I enjoyed the game to a degree. I hated the gameplay most of the time. A lot of it, I think, was based around design decisions, and other parts of it, I think, were just like stubbornness. The glaring thing to me that made the game feel clunky when it shouldn't have, I don't know if this has changed in a patch, but whenever I played through, the camera controls had inertia. So you would look in a direction, let go of the stick, and it would keep moving for a second. And then you would go back and it would do the same thing. And I'm like, this is like, people were talking when reviews first came out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you can get past like PS2 era controls,
Yeah.
it's fantastic. Like, the story is worth it. And I was like, okay, sure, I can deal with that. And then I went into the game and the look controls had inertia. And I was just like, what the hell? Like, this should have been the first thing that you reevaluated. Which didn't grate on me at first, but throughout the course of the game, I just got more and more frustrated because of interactions with Trico and not being told all of the controls by the game.
Now, you said you know why that happened? Mm-hmm. Why it happened?
There's a part, the bridge part, where you have the first mobile,
Yeah.
where you have to climb up and get rid of that. I took the train tracks around because I was exploring rather than following Trico out the main door. So that tutorial never played.
No shit.
Yep.
Wow.
And that is one instance that I sequence broke the game and it didn't know what to do. There were a few very specific spots that I think the game wanted me to do something like super specific that just didn't trigger, to the point where I had to reload the checkpoint just to get Trico to continue. That same area, I think that area particularly is like super buggy because...
Which is weird because that's the one they showed.
Yeah. I climbed to the top, and you know how you're supposed to jump down and Trico's supposed to catch you whenever you jump off? First time I did that, he didn't catch me. I just
He just watched you fall down.
No, I landed on his back, and he was just like, what? This isn't how this plays out. And I just sat there for 15 minutes, like pointing and calling for him, like, come on, let's go. I'm ready. I'm totally fine. And then I reloaded the checkpoint and jumped off. He caught me and then moved immediately. And I was just like, fuck. Like,
Yeah.
how many parts of this game are the result of that, where there's just very strict guidelines that you have to follow as a player at, like, may be obvious for some people, but very obviously for me did not work out.
Sure.
Which ultimately I think is bad game design. Especially, well, I can get beyond all of like the little things like that. Like, glitches happen.
Yeah.
Like reloading a save, not a big deal. But the fact that I missed an entire tutorial.
That's the one that sticks out to me. So I like the other ones, like you falling on his back and then him just being like, oh, sorry. Like that sucks. Like the reloading the checkpoint thing, but like you missing an entire portion of the game that like tells you everything else you're supposed to
critical.
do is really brutal. That to me is insane. That kind of stuff. All I can say in that defense was that, so I played it way after you, like 2 patches after you. And I had one instance of frame rate chug, like really bad. And it was right after when you're stuck in a little cage and Trico's like pushing you around to get through there, and you get out. When he hopped back out through his hole that he made and took me out of there, and then that whole hill that you end up on is just like nothing but grass. I maybe got like 15 frames per second. It was really rough. But then I left that area and it was fine. But like that was the one time like I was like, ooh, I think something's gonna break, and it didn't. But that was the only thing that I had. I never experienced, the only other thing was there was one time on that same bridge sequence, there was the point where he's supposed to put his tail out for you, and it's like I jumped and he just like watched me fall, but like I jumped when his tail was on the backswing and not the forward swing. So whatever.
Yeah,
that might have been on me, but that's insane that you missed that entire thing.
Because long story short,
You stood in a tree for 2 hours.
yeah, there's a part where you get attacked by the other Trico, fall through a building, wake up in a tree, and I sat there and stared at Trico like pawing at me for 2 hours. Calling to him. Like, this wasn't 2 hours of me like doing nothing. Like, I got so frustrated that I looked up guides and everywhere said, just look up and call and he'll jump up there. No problem. First try. I tried that for 2 hours. Nothing happened. Eventually I got so frustrated I was just button mashing and did a thing.
So did those commands not unlock for you, or did they? You just didn't know them.
I didn't know them.
Oh, okay.
And there's no instance where it's like very obvious. Until that point, you don't have to use them.
Right.
Like, I got to that point just telling Trico, go over there, and waiting for his AI to be like, yeah, okay, that's my idea. I want to do that.
Right.
That's like the very first roadblock where it's like, if you don't command him to jump, he's not going to, and you're going to be in this tree for the rest of your life. And
Yeah.
and it was like, that was super frustrating. That was the point in the game where I was just like, okay, what the fuck? And I think, honestly, that spoiled the rest of it for me a little bit, because there were parts that were absolutely fantastic. Like the first cutscene you get that shows a little bit of the backstory of your village and being abducted, whatnot. I was like,
yeah.
holy shit, I am so pumped for this. I'm ready to keep playing this game. But like, that happened almost too little too late. Like, if they would have started with something like that, or like had a little precursor cutscene that maybe just showed crashing into that, and waking up, like, maybe it wouldn't have had the same effect as the beginning of the game.
Well, yeah, I think the whole thing was like, the whole point was you not knowing why you were, like, you didn't get it. Like, I was like, I don't know why I'm here. And like, then having that whole revelation of like, oh, the reason I was here was because Trico was wearing this suit of armor that makes him really angry and evil, and he doesn't actually know what he's doing, and he's the tool for the giant blob god in the middle of the tower. And when he crash landed, it broke, and so then he became like a normal animal that just wanted to, leave. Yeah.
So I think they could have kind of like sped into the game a little better. I don't know how necessarily, but if they would have done something like this, like the first cutscene earlier, that would have like drawn my attention in, I would have been absolutely fine with overlooking any like glaring flaws like that. There were other little things, like little gameplay elements, like tripping over like small things. I feel like every single polygon in that game has collision that you can trip over.
Now that is, so yes, that's true, but that's also, he's made all of his other games like that. And so like one of the first things when you asked me about this game, one of the first things I told you was, did you like his other games?
I like Shadow of the Colossus.
He trips all over the fucking place. And he's a grown man.
He's a grown man with full control over his faculties.
And like he falls all over the place. There's even times where some of the Colossus will be walking, and just because the ground shakes so much, he's like, dup, 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 and just falls over.
Which I guess I was more fine with that than I was in this.
Yeah, so that's the thing, is that like, I think a lot of his, I think some of it, like that team's design is frustrating from a point of view because it's not in any other game. It's only in those three games. And those characters control the exact same throughout all three of those games. And it has like a very, to a fault, weighty feel, like to where it feels like the character's like the actual 90 pounds that he weighs or the whatever. But yeah, like I knew, and I've grown accustomed to that. Like when I play those games, like I know what mindset I have to be in. And so like a lot of the like control issues of him, like when I go to jump and then like if I like am running after that, he's like stumbling and stuff like that. Like I get it. Like, because at a certain point, their response to that is like, well, it's super realistic. Like, an 8-year-old's going to trip all over the place, and he's not going to be the most coordinated person in the world. And like with the Shadow of the Colossus guy, like if I was fighting that stuff, it'd be a tough time, probably me staying on my feet. But it's also, the argument then becomes, it's a video game. I just want to play the video game. Please don't stop me from playing your video game. So I get that argument for sure. But then it's also like, I think you know whether or not you like or can deal with that kind of, deal is probably the better word, deal with that kind of design 2 games ago. Because like they're the exact same.
I guess the thing
The controller thing, that's like that's bad. Like, yes, you should not be able to sequence break that. You should not be able to take train tracks around the whole area so that he never has to catch you, or you have to jump at him, like because it breaks the rest of the thing. That's bad. That is something that should have been caught in QA, something like that. But that is less. Then at that point, we have to hold QA testers responsible for that. Like, that's not a fault on.
Which I think most of my problems come down to, this game has been in development for 10 years.
Yes.
And
you couldn't find enough people to bug test it to get that kind of stuff out of there.
Yeah, like maybe Sony cut funding to like Skeleton Crew 5 years in.
I mean,
and
who
you've
knows?
Just been doing, like,
we'll never know what's going on.
We
with that
won't
game.
know. But at the same time, it's like, okay, design your game so it's not left in the dust. Which I think hey there. I think you had a much better experience because they patched stuff. And I think they patched stuff because if they would have pushed the release date back any further, everyone would have died.
And just been like, this game's not coming out. Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Like, which in this instance ruined my perception of the game, probably.
Because my experience in that was that I got in the tree and then pressed R1 and triangle, and he points and then does the little jump animation. And Trico looks, wags his butt, and then jumps right up there. I mean, it was so quick. I pulled my phone out as he grabbed me out of the tree, and I was like, yo, what happened? Like, and then, because I was like, I just didn't understand, because he literally, like, they say it, and then the pieces of the controller light up that you're supposed to use, and I was like what
that
happened?
didn't happen either.
Right, and it's like, that's crazy. Like, yeah, that's bad. And I
think a lot of, like, part of that comes down to, like, all the design elements before that. If you're able to just point Trico and let his AI take over and kind of like you're along for the ride, like, are you really teaching the player anything besides what the omnipotent voice is telling you?
But that's what I mean, is I think, like, in the beginning of the game, it's supposed to be the struggle of you training a pet. Except this one's like 4 tons and can break everything. But like the same way that, like, I don't want my cat to scratch on the couch anymore, like, I need Trico to go a certain way. And like that to me was what some would find super frustrating. I found super endearing. Like, I
thought it was completely
right. I'm
fine.
not saying you did. I'm just
because like it is just like having a pet.
Right, it's exactly like that. And I think his Trico's character is totally hinges, that the game hinges on whether or not you care about Trico.
Yes.
By the end of it.
Yes.
And
100%.
Yes.
Because
And
I cried at the end. No matter how much
I was super
hated the
teary.
drink,
I was super teary.
I was like, holy fuck. You son of a bitch.
Bitch, yeah, I was like,
you did it to me.
yeah, and like that's the, like, so and this is true for his other 2 games, but more so for this one. I have never ever defended his control design or anything like that. Like, I think that, quite frankly, I think that his thing of it's like it's realistic and weighty is a bit of a cop out.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's his game, so whatever. But like, I think it's personally a cop out. Like, I think that you could totally take it or leave it, and that story would still be the same. But it's the story itself of all 3 of those games that really like I like a lot, and the reason that I keep coming back to his kind of games, and the reasons I put up with the subpar controls is because that stuff outweighs it in such like a huge way, and that's how I feel about the story of this game, is that even, and I don't know because I didn't experience it, but I feel like even if I had an issue where I would have broke it, I probably would have been okay, especially by the end of it, only because then when Trico starts to listen to you, like especially at the end when you're like hopping up the towers and then you're making that like giant bridge so that you can fly back over to the tower and fuck up all those dudes that ruined your day earlier and everything. Like all of that was so cool because at that point Trico had no problem listening to me. Like I'm like, you need to go here, and then he's like, you got it, boom, and then like it was just like totally in sync. Like just I'm jumping up these things, I'm nailing it, and like I never had a problem where he's like, where you want me to go? And like looking around.
I don't see.
And like
I don't
you
see
can,
any lessons here, buddy.
and you can like see in the earlier stages of the game. And the reason I think it's really cool is because there's certain parts where you can see the AI in his brain thinking, like scanning the environment and being like, okay, these are the jumpable places. And the kid yelled in this direction, so I need to jump somewhere over here. And it's like, that's impressive not only in the game in and of itself, but like in game design in general. Like that AI programming that's in Trico is like, I think second to none as far as like a companion or like or an AI thing that follows you around or does anything. Like every other game that you have an escort mission essentially, like Resident Evil 2 Veronica Code sucks. Resident Evil, where any of those games where you're like putting Jill in a fucking barrel and being like, please stay here and don't die, stupid. His first game, Ico, there was plenty of times where Yorda got captured just because she wouldn't walk away from the people. Like, I'm over here fighting the dudes that grabbed you first. Somebody walks around, starts grabbing, move. What do you move? Don't stand there. What are you doing? It's stupid. It's aggro, same thing. He didn't take damage, but like I jump off on a Colossus and then he just runs under its feet. What are you doing? Why are you doing that? Like I never had an experience where I was like, you just watch this AI just be like, doop, doop, boop, boop, and like just not know, and then you're besides you where you're calling at him, he's not listening to you. But like anything like where I was, if I gave him the command, like he would be like, okay, like
I'll figure it out eventually.
I push over the box. And like the one puzzle that I thought was gonna be brutal was where he has to stick his tail and you like push the box towards where you fall in the water, and like you have to call him and then he like claws out a thing and then puts his tail in and then pulls you out. You remember that? Yeah. Like I was like, there's no way he's gonna figure this out. Like I like push the thing and I'm like calling him. I'm like, well, I don't know what I didn't even know what he was gonna do. Like I thought he was gonna like stick his head in, and I didn't know what was going to happen. He like pulls out a little hole and puts his tail in. I'm like, whatever you say.
I forgot about that part actually, because that part, his tail did some weird physics thing whenever that happened.
Really?
Yeah. Like he put his tail through, but the very tip of it got caught, so it like made it
just like
down, and I was like, help, buddy.
Yeah, please.
So I just like swam across the area, came back, and it was down in the water. And I was like, okay, I just had to tell the game to remember.
Yeah. That's the difference. Is that I think controls wise, I probably experienced this game in the best possible scenario.
Yeah.
But
I got used to it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's good.
No.
But whenever it works, it's fine.
Yes, I think that at its best, it's fine. Yes. But the story and like me being upset, like I like the first time when Trico was fighting the other one, just this singular Trico, and you're like running around this thing and like shoving barrels on it and like trying to like get off my friend. Like that whole thing like was super good. And then at the end when all of them are fighting, like I remember, because one of them yells at me and then I knocks my shield, and my Trico screams and then jumps and like scratches one's face. And I was like, oh fuck me! Like I could feel it. Like I was not ready. And then Alex, one of our friend Alex, he asked me to stream. He like requested to watch or whatever. So I just did a little thing where he was watching me, and he comments like right at that moment. He was like, "Please no," and like he knew only from seeing. He watched me from the palace where I was opening up that first door to the elevator, and he knew even then. He was like, "This is gonna be bad," and he was like, "If he starts to die, I'm turning this thing off," and like this whole thing, and like when Trico's sitting there and he gets his tail ripped off, I was like, no. And then like he grabs his ankle. I was like, they pull his foot off. I'm selling this fucking game. Like I'm not playing around. And then like you have to grab his tail and then run down and you're like blasting the fucking god blob, and then like it dies, and then finally like all the other Tricos, because they're locked into that armor, die. And I was like, good. I hope you all never come back ever again. I hate you all. But then the one that got its helmet knocked off, the one that was with the other one, still survived. And it like yelled at him as he was leaving. I thought maybe there was something there, but I didn't really know. And then at the end, when like they show the two eyes, but like that story outweighs the experience that I had with Trico, and then getting all the way to the end was totally worth the time that I waited for this game.
I gave it like in my head 6 out of 10.
I think I would have probably went with an 8.
If I wasn't stuck in a tree for 2 hours, I would have. That would probably be higher.
That's like yes, I agree with you that's bad. I cannot believe that happened. I believe
really,
you, but
ever since that point, even
I would be so frustrated. I totally
even
hear
minor
you.
things like the part after the fight with the other Trico, where you have to feed your Trico
4 barrels to
Yeah.
get him to stand up again. Yeah.
the fact that wasn't set it in front of his mouth and he'll get it, where you have to actually like hand feed him those.
You have to hit.
Son of a bitch! Did they patch that too?
So So here's what happened to me. So he's sitting there. He's laying there.
He's
and-
really sad, and you feel terrible.
And you feel
you're like,
awful,
"Let me help
and you're
you.
like, I
Let me
didn't
help
get to you quick enough. I'm so sorry. But so there's a bunch of little broken pieces of wood around this 4 tile like spot, like 4 little broken tiles. And I set the barrels there each time because they're little pieces of wood there from earlier, and they were the same color as the barrel. So I was like, okay, the game wants me to set them right here. I set it right there, and then he grabbed them each time, like just right there, like.
I got all 4 and positioned them around his head to try and figure out where I needed to put the rest of them, and he would reach for them, and they would just scoot out of the way.
Oh no!
And I was like, I'm doing something wrong. What am I doing? Like, am I supposed to throw them at his mouth? So I got close and tried to throw them, and like before the
just bounce on his head.
Before the animation started, he was just like, "Thank you," and just ate it out of my hands. I was like, that's never been discussed before.
So I've had him eat out of my hands before. But not when he was ever laying. Like, there was just one moment where he was level with me on a ledge, and then I was like gonna try to do like the throwing achievement, and he just grabbed that out of my hands, and I was like, okay, whatever. I don't care.
See, that never happened.
Yeah.
So, like, it's little stuff like that like, after being stuck in a tree, I was like, I cannot forgive you for any of this.
No, that... Yes, I could see how you would get to that point of anger, for sure. Because then little things that you would typically overlook, like in any game, become very... to the point where you're just like, and another thing that's broken, and another thing.
Because, like,
Because in your mind, the game did not... And to be fair, it didn't, but...
my biggest problem is there's no indication whether you're doing something right or wrong.
Right.
It's like you like if like I don't know if there's something that I wasn't picking up on where Trico recognizes a command, because even if there was something like you called a Trico and he makes a noise where he's like, I'd be like, cool, he got that loud and clear. He's thinking. I'll wait. But it's just kind of like, hey, go do this thing. Can you do that? Can you go over there, please? And he's just kind of like looking at you. It's like very frustrating to like not have any sort of like give and take.
Right. See, like I've never had that. Like I used the jump command a lot, and then when I was riding on his back and like when I was doing that last tower sequence, like I'm pressing R1 and square because that's you telling him to hit something. I'm pointing in the directions of all the soldiers, and he's jumps and then turns those people and smacks them. And then jumps and turns those people and smacks them, and does everything like exactly how I needed him to. It's like, but I think I think partly that has to probably do with patches that came out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what your friend Ian's experience was with the rest of that endgame stuff, like especially with the barrels feeding sequence. Like I wonder if he had the same issue you did.
Mm-hmm.
But the all the controls, like I never had a problem with him doing any of that, and I think that goes back to like partly patches, and then the other thing was I would be willing to bet that after you broke it like that, you had a lot of things that, as what happens in coding, you fuck up one part and then it just dominoes. And I think that's more than likely what happens, that there's plenty of little things then, like the barrel thing, all these little things could add up to be like a huge bigger problem that once you sequence broke it, it was just like, I'll never be the same.
I make my own game.
And I think that might have been what happened.
So,
But I also like I never even thought about exploring that area, only because I watched like that E3 thing so many times that as soon as I saw that bridge, I was like, I remember what to do, and I just pushed the thing. I didn't even look. I'm not even sure where you went to get how you got there, and I just played through the game. I had no idea. I don't remember.
not where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, but like I like walked up straight to that first pinwheel and was like, bye, and then like it did the whole thing.
I don't get it.
Yeah, it is a bummer.
Yeah, because after I beat the game, I looked through the achievements or the trophies or whatever, and I was like, no fucking way. I'm not going to do this
And
again.
you know what? I looked through those achievements and I was like, I'm fucking platinuming this game.
They're all like movement and control based, and I was just like, no.
The only one I think is going to be rough is trying to get him to catch a barrel in his mouth. I never got that to happen.
Oh, that happened for me all the time. That's the one thing that worked. So you heard it here, folks. Two very different experiences of Last of the Guardian. I just fucked that sentence up real bad.
One guy's a bad pupper trainer and the other one's good.
No, I'm a good puppet trainer. Well, I'm very relaxed. I'm like, you do whatever you want. I'm just on your back.
Yeah.
So go over there somewhere, maybe. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. It doesn't mean anything, but it lets us know that you clicked a button, and I appreciate that. Leave a comment. If you played The Last Guardian, tell us what you thought. If you want to see more, there's a subscribe button there as well. We come out with our talk time every Friday, unless it's late, in which case it comes up on Saturday. But like I said before, you can find us on Twitter. I'm @_Matthew Creek, joined again by our good friend Christian.
Hello.
Thank you for talking about The Last Guardian with me.
No problem. I had to defend this game in some sort of way.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.